Before this video begins, allow me to share some fantastic news with those of you who may not have heard it yet. As of May 15, 2020, YEAAAH and Archmage have announced that Drowned Gods has officially entered into Wave 1. All I have to say is, once the closed community period is over, Drowned Gods will become a paid access game for 400 Robux, and everyone will be able to gain access into the game. I feel like this could happen as early as a month or two from now. Let me know down in the comments below when you think it'll release. Anyways, let's get started with the video. PS, please bear with the crappy generic text-to-speech voice. I don't have access to my mic, and I feel like this is the best alternative. So, what do we know about the King of Etrea, and why are we talking about him in the first place? Well, from all the snippets, leaks, and teasers we have gotten about the game so far, we can deduce that Etrea is in trouble, and it may or may not be the king's fault. The first piece of evidence is a clip we have seen multiple times now. Ooh. If you have seen my previous theory video on Drowned Gods, you would know that I mentioned that Etrea is perhaps cursed, or at least the ocean is, by some ancient deity who hails from the sea. The subtext from the area message confirms this, as does this new clip that I am about to show you. The sounds of the forest comfort your sea-weary soul, if briefly. So, either there is something on the island of Etrea that is going to interrupt that comfort, or that comfort is going to be interrupted when you set sail again. I think the second choice is more likely the case. The most hard-hitting evidence for Etrea being cursed or at least in danger comes from YEAAAH's Twitter page. Check out this cryptic runic message. Lucky for us, someone in the comments was able to identify the language as runes, and linked a table consisting of the runic alphabet. When translated, the message reads, "But when the king returned to save Etrea." This is something that came straight from the mouth of YEAAAH, so it is confirmed that there's something wrong with Etrea. Not only that, but the king left the people of Etrea on their own to deal with this problem. Did he leave voluntarily, or was it involuntary? Is he even still alive? Well, to answer that, we need to understand what it is that went down. We're going to go back onto YEAAAH's Twitter page. That is something you're going to see me do a lot with these theories. YEAAAH announced that he was positively surprised with some of the theories people were coming up with about Drowned Gods. Back in April, I think we all owe Twitter user EpicBuilder77 a huge round of applause, because without his contribution and ideas I don't think we'd be talking about this now. Take a look at his theory that he came up with by diving even further and looking at the music of Drowned Gods for clues. If you want to read the complete thing, feel free to pause the video at this point. I'm going to summarize it, give my take on it, and then do a deep dive myself to see what other stuff I can find. Essentially, the King of Etrea ruled his people with an iron fist. One day, he ventured out in search of the Drowned Gods of legend, when he and his crew came face to face with a monstrous creature. The creature ate the entire crew, but no one knows what happened to the king. This event caused the rise in supernatural activity around the island, and the people of Etrea looked to a knight named Efengerd as their protector. War ensued, and Efengerd ultimately saves the day using the power of ether, a magic he was given by the drowned goddess that the king originally intended to find. He has another part on ether, but because this video is about the king we won't go into that right now. I really believe that this story has some truths to it, since YEAAAH was the one who linked it for everyone to see. There is only a few things I would change or have concern about. If Efengerd truly saved the day, then why is it that Etrea and its waters are still so dangerous and cursed to this day? I think the grand battle between Efengerd and the monsters did happen, but he lost. Efengerd never found the ether, and so he was not able to overcome the Horde's strength. That's why the subtext of the area messages are still so ominous and grim, even during present day. I think it is us, the players, who will be the first to wield and use the power of the ether against the monsters of the deep, not Efengerd and his men. Second, I don't think the king and his crew were attacked by a random monster. I like to imagine that the creature they were attacked by was the sea monster equivalent to the Sphinx. If you read Homer's The Odyssey, or know anything about mythological creatures, you'll know that the Sphinx gives its victims a riddle to solve when they cross paths with it. Solve the riddle correctly and you may live, but if you get it incorrect, the Sphinx will kill you and devour you. So, let's say that the king and his crew came across this water sphinx of sorts, and they failed to answer its riddle correctly, which resulted in their deaths. In addition to killing them, the water sphinx placed a curse upon the Etrean waters, which made even just stepping into it extremely lethal. I like to think this cursed water also had some effect on the island's agriculture, but that's not really important. So, in conclusion, the king and his men depart from the island of Etrea, in order to seek out an ancient goddess. They unfortunately crossed paths with a creature who was the equivalent of the Sphinx, and failed to solve its riddle. This resulted in their deaths. Ethengard and the other knights of Etrea fought against an ever-growing horde of monsters, and lost. Now, the Etrean ocean remains cursed and under constant threat of the creatures that loom in the deep. I know I mentioned in my previous video that nothing too dangerous probably lurks in the Etrean waters, but I'm retconning that now. Now that we have an idea of the king's backstory along with Etrea's, let's take a look at another clue that may give hints towards the lore of drowned gods. Getting my definition straight from Wikipedia, HELLLLLL was a Norse poem, which is comprised of shorter poems. Its purpose is to provide advice for living, proper conduct and wisdom. Why do I bring this up? Because Noctigonus referenced this very poem on his SoundCloud. Noctigonus is the musician behind Drowned God's original soundtrack, so it would make sense to assume that he would be leaving behind clues as well, since he worked so closely with Raguzer and Archmage. Underneath the Norse poem, he also leaves another clue in English that reads, "The second gift, of slender shape and features dim, time's shadow slinks and creeps along, as sunken shaded brings of gifts, it tells us, there's more to come." As fun as it would be to go over this, I'm going to focus on the HELLLLL poem, as Twitter user EpicBuilder77 already drew up some theories about this, and linked them to Ether, which is an entirely different topic. The parts of the poem that were referenced are specifically stanzas 75 and 76. When translated to English, they read, "Cattle die and kinsmen die, thyself too soon must die, but one thing never, I ween, will die, fair fame of one who has earned. Cattle die and kinsmen die, thyself too soon must die, but one thing never, I ween, will die, the doom on each one dead." Pretty ominous stuff, but I have an idea of what it could be hinting towards. Everything dies, nothing in this world is permanent. The only two things that are permanent are a person's fame, and the doom they have wrought throughout their life. The only two things that leave a permanent mark on the world are fortune and misery. This could honestly be a direct call out to the king, referencing how he lived his life. Even if he is dead, he continues to live on through his wealth and prominence, as well as the terror and doom he brought to the people of Etrea through failing to answer the Sphinx's riddle correctly. I believe the king was a selfish man, and these specific stanzas in HELLLLL are being used to mock him and act as a warning to others who might try and follow in his footsteps. I could also see this poem being a summary of what the game is. You, the player, would progress throughout the world, and rise in popularity from the tales of your adventures, and the actions you choose to make. In the end, our mark will be left on the world through those two things, fame and doom. That about wraps up my thoughts on the potential backstory of the king, and of Etrea. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thanks so much for watching. I genuinely enjoy theorizing about drowned gods, and it's even more fun when people share their opinions about the lore in the comments as well. Let me know what you thought about all of this. Raguzer and Archmage weren't kidding when they said the lore is going to play a much larger part in this world. and words cannot describe how excited I am to be able to play the game and uncover more of its secrets. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.